moving to a higher circle. We are Shaltazar, the Gavish Baninu, the energy of 33, the Master Teacher. We have come forth at this time to bring you divine wisdom. Yes, we are here. We are here with you now and forever. We are watching over your world. We are watching as the energy is intensified. We watch on, always sending you love. We know these turbulent times are not easy for many of you. We know the trials and tribulations facing the many are unpleasant. But we say to you, hold on. Stay the course. Move to your heart when your obsessive mind is feeding you fear. When the mind riles you up and whips you into a frenzy, try to stay calm and try to be patient. Try to put your head down and wait for the storm to pass. The storm, so to speak, are the waves of energy that have been sent forth by the Source to stir up the status quo. For as we have told you, these are the times of great potential for change, and the only way that change will occur is by experiencing the energy of change. It is a strong and intense energy that comes forth in waves. It is like being in a strong windstorm when the skies grow dark and the rain comes pouring down. It feels ominous, it feels foreboding, and people are afraid. They hide indoors, but soon the storm passes and people are happy when the sun comes out. They rejoice and feel relieved. They come outdoors to play and frolic in the warm sunshine. But then, without warning, the skies again grow dark, the winds blow strong, and down pours the rain again. How many times must this occur before you say, I can't take it anymore? The happiness, lightness, and joy being snuffed out by the heavy winds and dark clouds that bring up depression, despair, and hopelessness. For the lucky ones, they realize that something needs to change, and since they know they can't control the weather, they realize they must change how they see the weather. In other words, they must change on the inside, because the cycle of stormy weather and sunshine does not seem to be changing on the outside. The lucky ones realize they get to choose how they wish to see the world around them. And yes, even the lucky ones prefer the sunshine over the apocalyptic storms that wreak havoc. But for them, they have come to realize that it is their inner reality that counts, not their outer reality, for that will always be changing. They have come to realize their power resides in being able to control the narrative. They choose their reality by interpreting the story the way they want to. They don't give their power away by letting what is going on around them determine their truth. Reality is not how the world is. It is how you choose to see the world. Yes, your world is how you choose to see it. But the less fortunate ones, who have not been doing their homework since the shift of 2012, this energy of change is very disconcerting. It is very painful, for they are left to be tossed around on a life raft, feeling out of control. As the storm begins to brew, they are thrown about in their flimsy lifeboat, fearful they will not make it to safety. Then the seas calm and the sun comes out. They are relieved, but instead of enjoying the reprieve from the storm, they worry and wonder when the next turbulence will begin. You see, they allow their reality to be determined by what is going on around them and their past experiences. They have not yet realized that it is not what goes on around you that determines reality, but how you choose to see and interpret what goes on around you that is the true reality. We realize that living through these intense cycles of storms and calm can wear down anyone's optimistic perspective of reality. That is why the Source continues to send these intense waves of disruptive energy to your world. Let us assure you, it is not punishment, nor retribution. It is not even the karma of the collective consciousness. It is for purpose. Yes, a great purpose. And that purpose is to force the many to re-examine, to rethink their inner reality, how they choose to see the world. We have talked to you before about perspective, so you know how important it is. We have told you how your personal history, your life experiences, determine your perspective. That is why the many storms occurring on your planet are necessary. Of course, the analogy of the weather storms is merely a metaphor for the many upheavals occurring all over your planet. Political, personal, emotional, economic, and on and on. Upheavals in all areas, all over your planet, happening everywhere on a regular basis. And we hear you ask, how does this have anything to do with our personal history and changing our perspectives? You cannot, with your mind consciousness, pretend you don't know what you have just experienced. You know it because you went through it. It is part of your cellular memory. So how can you learn to have a different perspective when you have just experienced horror, discomfort, fear, worry, grief, loss, and darkness? Are you saying we can forget or wipe out the unpleasant experiences we have just had? You just told us our perspective comes from our past experiences, we hear you say. Yes, it does seem that we are contradicting what we are saying, but that is because it is a paradox. You are interpreting what we say from your four-dimensional perspective. What we are offering you is the opportunity to rise or move above the dimensionality you are currently living in. It is time, if you choose, to move to your multidimensionality. What does this mean, you ask? In your current dimensionality, you see and interpret things in a linear way. You are in the midst of a horrific storm, and you are scared, and thus your perspective is based on being scared. The storm passes, but you remember the experience of the storm and how it felt scared. So as the sun begins to shine, you still hold on to remnants of your fearful feelings. Another storm comes up, and the frightened feeling intensifies. When the sun comes out again, the remnants of the scared feeling from the first storm is added to the terrified feeling of the second storm. The more storms that keep coming, the more your perspective is tainted by the scared feelings from each storm. The scared feeling remnants multiply as your perspective grows darker and darker. So how can we change this? By moving to a higher dimensionality. By realizing that the storms are not coming forth in a linear progression. And here is the learning for today. The storms are coming forth in a circular fashion. They are not several different storms coming forth one after the other. No, they are the same storm repeating over and over again. They appear different, they appear linear, but they are not. That is an illusion. The response, the reaction you have to the storm determines what comes next. If you allow the scared, fearful feelings after each storm to build one upon the other in a linear way, the storms will keep coming. But that does not have to be the case. You can let go and release the scared feeling remnants after each storm. In order to do so, you must develop techniques and practices to cleanse your physical vessel after each storm. This will take practice. You will need to learn how to release the lower and slower energetic residue every time you experience a personal storm. Meditating, reflecting, journaling, and getting out in nature are just a few examples. You must find your own way of cleaning the energetic remnants left after each storm. Otherwise, those energetic leftovers remain in your etheric body. Learning to clear your energetic body is essential to cleaning up your perspective. If you don't do so, the negative energy that remains after each storm begins to pollute your perspective. The key to this teaching is to realize that when you move above the fourth dimension, things are not linear, but circular. If you know things will continue to repeat in a circle unless you change something, your perspective, the only salvation from the continual repeating of the storms is to move above the circle by detoxifying after each storm. The storms may still keep coming, but your perspective on the storms has changed because you cleaned up the toxic remnants of your unpleasant experience. By doing so, you are not as affected by the next storm. That is the good news. But unfortunately, if you are successful at doing so, it just means you will move to the next circle of storms coming your way. Remember, your human lifetime experience is about learning and growth. Do not expect the storms to stop coming. They will just be of a different nature. However, you can minimize your suffering by not having to deal with the same storm over and over again. By continuing to move to higher and higher circles, there will come a time when the intensity of the storms will feel different. You will have raised your consciousness in such a way that moving through the storm will not feel as traumatic and may feel easier. Again, let go of thinking life is linear and begin to embrace the concept of life being circular. Each higher circle will feel different and not in a linear way. You will not be able to comprehend how the circle feels different until you actually experience it. Try to think of it as a series of circles laid on top of each other, moving upwards, but yet still connected. Some circles are larger than others, but they are all stacked one on top of the other. Some humans get to experience many different circles in their lifetime expression, and others just a few. They represent the layers of consciousness you encounter in your human journey. It is not a contest to see how many circles you experience in your lifetime. It is merely an evolution of each and every human being as the soul gets to experience the ride. Since you live on the planet of free choice, moving to a higher circle must be of your choosing. To do so requires desire, intention, and energy. This evolution of consciousness is not attained by trying hard. On the contrary, quite often it is achieved by surrender and allowing. This is a concept very foreign to the linear mind. That is the reality of human life on your planet, but you may not be able to comprehend this until you move to higher dimensions, higher circles. This is a difficult concept that will require much reflection and ponder. You will not be able to integrate this message with your logical and linear mind. You must release the mind and allow yourself to move to your inner knowing. Then and only then will you get it, and by doing so, you may well find you have moved to a new circle. And so it is. We bring you this message from a place of love. We are here for you now and forever.